Hey everybody, Ghost Critic here with another in this series of Ultimate graphic novel collections that's been published over here in the UK from Marvel, and it's the fourth book in the series, and it is the Ultimates, and it collects the first 6 issues of the first volume, which was entitled Superhuman. It was originally released March 2002 on Marvel's Ultimate imprint. These were basically reimaginings and kind of starting from the beginning again of like their biggest titles. You know, we'd already had the X-Men, we'd already had Spider-Man, and the Ultimates is basically an up-to-date modern envisaging of the Avengers. I know there's a lot of Avengers fans out there. This particular team, because I have read these issues before, and a lot of other members are introduced in later issues, but this was kind of like your main team of Captain America, Henry and Janet Pym, Giant Man and Wasp respectively. We had Bruce Banner, the Hulk, Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Thor, who they kind of made into this kind of, I guess, kind of, sort of like a surfer dude. He kind of had this kind of, is he an absolute loony or is he some kind of messiah, because he has like all these people who follow him everywhere, like he is this god. And finally we have General Nick Fury. Now, to be honest, there's not a lot to say about the actual story. It's a team coming together kind of deal, but way darker, way more cynical than I feel it should have done. Written by Mark Millar with art by Brian Hitch. Mark Millar was just trying to do something very different and very up to date, and I think in a way it kind of harms the book. It dates it immediately. I mean, this is full of kind of pop culture references for the time it was out. It's very self-referential, and it's clear that since this came out, a lot of kind of movie industry people have read this and picked out all the little bits that they liked and used for, you know, movie scripts and to the point of castings. And I'll get onto that in a bit. Let's just quickly go over the story, because like I said, not a great deal plot-wise happens. The first issue is set in 1945, and it's kind of our introduction to Captain America, fighting in the war and leading the good fight, and his apparent death as he stops this huge plane with missiles and bombs, and he eventually, you know, looks as if he drowns over the Arctic, Antarctic, wherever. Clearly Captain America the First Avenger, the film that's just recently come out, just took this story and went with it, just with the first issue. It's so similar. It's just ridiculous to not see the common elements within the very first issue. From then on, it is literally the team coming together, Nick Fury going out, trying to get all these very, you know, screwed up people to join this big task force, this government endorsed task force. And like I said, it's book written with a huge amount of cynicism, straight through to like the whole advertising, the promotion of this supergroup. You have them being interviewed by, you know, real American news reporters. There's even a shot of a scene with the president of the time, which is, like I keep saying, it just completely dates the book. I can't even remember which. Oh, it was oh gosh, I should have written this one down for sure. You know what, I can't even remember his name, but there you go. It's that one. Now, I'm all for a kind of realism within comic books, and if you're going to do something like this, you do have to just go for it. You can't do these things kind of half-hearted. But it's like I say, as soon as you start, you know, using like the present of the day, it immediately dates the book. You know, this is 10 years later, we've got a black president now, of the United States of America. I really don't like it when they do this. I prefer, fine, have a president for this universe, but just make him totally nondescript. Just make him not the real president. I am fine and okay with that. The story keeps going on and on and on, and it's like, even the characters are bored. I'm bored reading it, even the characters are bored reading it, that there is this whole scene of them sat around in like a living room, just chatting about who would play them in a movie. So, you know, they think Captain America should be played by Brad Pitt, Tony Stark should be played by Johnny Depp, Janet Pym should be played by Lucy Liu, and it's just, I mean, he's always been drawn like this, so this was just a pointless reference. But of course, Nick Fury, he just goes, well, who else is going to play me but Samuel L. Jackson? Well, you damn well look like Samuel Jackson. It's just pointless. And of course, as the story progresses, like I said, I'm so bored at the moment. And clearly Banner is too, and wants to give the team something to do. So despite the fact that he's been trying to keep down his violent Hulk persona and keeping it in check, he injects himself and brings about the Hulk, who just goes on a complete rampage of Manhattan. And so the team has to get together. Finally, they've got something to do as a superhero team to bring him down. They really get their asses kicked until Thor, who at this point has said, no, I don't want to join this team, comes in and pretty much saves the day for them. And then right at the end, I mean, this is how kind of, it's a very adult book, and we do end on like a scene of what is essentially domestic violence. This is not a book for your kiddies, and I didn't even notice it. Someone had to tell me this in the comic book store, and they've said it's been on others as well, but when we buy this, there's a cardboard backing to it, and it said on the bottom, not to be sold, or something like that, not to be sold to anyone under the age of 15. And I have to quite agree. This is a very kind of adult orientated book in its thematic plot lines. It is basically a bunch of screwed up human beings. You've got Cap, who's, you know, he's been frozen for 60 odd years and is trying to get his head round now living in a new millennium where everything's completely different. Obviously the Henry and Janet Pym kind of domestic violence storyline. Bruce Banner is just this neurotic guy whose girlfriend, I think it still is his girlfriend, Betty, who is their kind of promotional manager. They're having like a trial separation, but he really doesn't want this, and he is a very jealous guy. Tony Stark, alcoholic, womanizer, and then there's the whole Thor thing, which you know, he's a big environmentalist, doesn't believe in all this, you know, government super team stuff, even though he comes to the rescue, and he's just portrayed, or you know, he's appearing kind of just an absolute nutcase. So yeah, this did very, very well. The first 6, 7, 8, 9 issues was very, very well received, but for me it was just far too cynical. The characters were stripped of all their kind of like super heroic nobility, and they were just made to look, you know, they focused really on character flaws rather than, you know, I'm Captain America. I mean, I'm not a huge Captain America fan, as you all know, but you know, I would have liked to see him, you know, really, you know, come into his own. This great nobility that back in the war in the 1940s that he was involved in, he was a figure to look up to. He motivated, and he was forward thinking, and he was just right at the front line. And it's all of the characters, they just are so arrogant and so self-centered and not super heroic at all. The artwork I do like, Brian Hitch. There is that kind of a realism to it that, you know, from the last one, if you watch my Iron Man one, Adi Garananov, I think it is, I didn't like that kind of realistic kind of CGI effect artwork. This is much more, you know, there's a much more artwork to this. It's more, there's a great deal of pencil work in this, and it does look very nice. I am a very interested party when it comes to Brian Hitch's artwork. So yeah, would I recommend this? If you're an Avengers fan, you might be turned off by it because this is not the Avengers that you know from the normal Marvel U. Certainly not for a young reader with all its adult themed plot lines. It's like a summer blockbuster movie, essentially. That's what it was. That's probably rated 15. And I'm sure that's what Mark Millar was aiming for, to be honest. There is obviously always the extras within it. The front and the back of the inside cover, hopefully you can see that. The kind of montage of scenes within the book. In the back we have a heroes gallery. They show off like the Ultimates version of it and the original versions of the characters. Bit about Mark Millar and his involvement in the basically in the Ultimate Universe, and then a page about the artist Brian Hitch, and then all the covers for the first 6 issues that he did. And as usual, at the back, a further reading page if you were at all interested in picking up anything else that Marvel was putting out. So yeah, along the spine, another part of the diorama, and this is part 28 of that diorama that will turn into a big whole picture. I believe the next one that's coming out this Wednesday is The Birth of Venom. It's another Amazing Spider-Man, but going much further back in the Amazing Spider-Man's history. So, hope you enjoyed that. What did you think of, I mean, I presume a lot of you have already read this when it came out originally. If you reread it now, do you agree with my whole kind of dated, very cynical look at the team? Well, that's me out anyway. Hope to see you soon. I'll get another review of this up as soon as I've read the next one, which is coming out this Wednesday. Take care.